Hello, pro wrestling fans. Welcome back to a brand new episode of the Joe Monroe Show, where we are doing our Podcasters Appreciation Month episodes for the month of April. I am your host, Joe Monroe, and today we have two special guests. This is our first multi-interview for one podcast. But before we bring on our awesome guests, let's go ahead and mention some sponsors real quick. First and foremost, I want to thank Phenomenal Finds ATL. If you're looking for anything retro, whether it be wrestling, like any old Nickelodeon stuff, I think I can still say that on the air, or just anything retro that you're looking for, check out phenomenalfindsatl.com. And we also want to thank our partners and sponsors, Triple Crown Wrestling and Ultimate Championship Wrestling, who are bringing back professional wrestling as it should be to the great state of Kentucky, as well as Les Murphy Painting. If you have any issues with any of your painting needs, check out Les Murphy and contact him at 734-334-3702. And why not? Cuckoo Kachu. Look, there's Wilson Wallace. Okay, that's enough airtime for him. All right, folks. Today we have a very special episode for a couple of good friends of mine. And this card is not going to be subject to change, but that is the name of their show. Ladies and gentlemen, first and foremost, the wizard himself, CZ. CZ, welcome to the show.
Thank you very much. Happy to be here. Thanks for having us on.
Not a problem, brother. And let's go ahead and get your co-host on. We got none other than Never Wrong Nick Bull. Nick, welcome to the show as well, my friend.
Joe, thanks for having us on. Looking forward to this. Have this circle on the calendar for a few days now. Really looking forward to getting to chat with you.
No, not a problem at all. We chatted a little bit before the show started, and we got along pretty quickly. So this is going to be a great episode. So what I'm going to do, let me go ahead. I'm going to how do I do this? How can I give you guys a split screen here? Can we do it? Nope. Let's come on now. We'll do it like this. The heck with it. All right. So we'll go ahead and I guess you'll see my ugly mug this episode, folks. For those who are watching, for those who are on Spotify, we do stream these live on Facebook and YouTube, and we put them on Spotify immediately after the show. So you all are going to be episode 9. And first and foremost, let's go ahead and ask the general question. What got you all loving this crazy sport of professional wrestling?
Well, I'll start here. For me, got to go all the way back to the 80s and late 80s, early 90s. Hulkamania running wild. I came in right around WrestleMania 5. Big fan of the Mega Powers storyline. That was what got me hooked. Fell off a couple times not watching, but then really my big passion came when we have a local indie promotion called SCW Pro. I spent about 2-3 years ring announcing for them, and that just revved that passion up. So here I am. That's where my love of wrestling came from.
All right, Nick, same question for you, sir.
My love of wrestling came. I used to rush home Sundays after church and catch wrestling on Sunday mornings. That was my introduction into wrestling. I remember Saturday night's main event when Hogan got pinned by Andre and being just outraged at that, and having my dad laugh at me and chuckle at me. I was so upset over it, and not really spoiling it for me, wanting me to be emotionally invested. I really remember Hogan's shoulder being up, and I just couldn't understand how the ref could count to 3 and when his shoulder was up. So that was kind of my introduction into wrestling, was that Saturday night's main event where Andre pinned Hogan, and then, rushing home on Sundays after church to catch whatever wrestling I could on Sunday mornings. Usually it was Superstars. Was able to catch that. And that's, I didn't have cable growing up. So that was my link, my wrestling link to the outside world was Sunday morning wrestling.
And Ryan Mosley, who we had on last night, says, what's up? He had really enjoyed. You're welcome, Ryan. We'll have you back at any time here, man. And he said that was a great combination of church and wrestling there. So
I think you got to have church. I think you got to have church in your life if you're going to watch wrestling, because there's some stuff on wrestling that pushes the envelope.
Yeah, still being in the sport work, even if I'm backstage now, you definitely need church immediately after a Saturday night show. Sometimes,
just depending on what you're watching, though, don't mix the two together. I used to work taking pictures at a church, and we were reviewing an ECW show on the podcast, and there was a lull in the families coming in, so I turned on the ECW show while I'm sitting in church, and Joel Gertner came on, and I'm like, no, Not doing this in church.
Well, nope. Oh, goodness gracious. You actually kind of transition into my next question. Growing up, what was some of your favorite wrestling promotions to watch, or was you kind of like how we all are? We watched everything, but if you can pinpoint one, which one would you gravitate more to?
For me, I've always been a WWF, WWE guy. I'd get the magazine every month. I'd go down to the drugstore and get the magazine off the newsstands. I would pick up the Pro Wrestling Illustrated and see what was going on in the NWA and WCW. I didn't have those. Those were like foreign to me. I didn't have the mothership TBS until I was in high school. So keeping up with those things, it was foreigns. But, I had the WWF on every Sunday. So that's what I was in tune to. That's what I knew what was going on. Would tune into Superstars to get the results of the pay-per-views, watch the build for the next one. And then, of course, through WWF magazine. So I've always been a WWE guy, but I watch all sorts of things now.
And I was much the same. Always been a WWE guy. Obviously, I started during the Hulkamania era, the golden era, if you will. But around high school, I remember I would watch both shows, both WCW and WWF. I would watch WWF while it was going on live, and WCW would always have that rebroadcast right after Raw. So I'd flip it over and I'd be watching both on a Monday night.
So you were like you were a channel flipper like I was. I was flipping back and forth as a kid too, and then secretly I would watch ECW on TNN. Just don't tell my well, I'm already busted. They knew I watched it. But from pro wrestling fans, of course, you all have your podcast, Card Subject to Change, which is an awesome name, by the way. What made you, for one, get the name Card Subject to Change? And also, what was the start of it? What was kind of like the genesis of Card Subject to Change?
Well, the name, I will give full credit to Nick. He was the one who came up with Card Subject to Change. We were tossing ideas around, and that's the one that stuck. Nick and I have known each other, about 20 years, Nick, give or take?
Yep.
We worked together at a local TV station. We were both into wrestling at the time. Kind of drifted apart a little bit. Still friends, but just not in dire communication with each other. And then one of my coworkers at a job here in the last couple of years had a podcast network. He said, "Hey, you're a big wrestling fan. You should do a wrestling podcast." And I've got just the guy. His name is Nick Bull. And I'm like, wait, what's his name? And it just clicked. I'm like, Nick put Nick and I back in touch, and the rest is history.
Yeah, I struggle with names for a little bit because, so many good names are out there that are taken. I didn't want to steal somebody's name. And I'm like, you know what? Every wrestling card, every wrestling poster has Card Subject to Change on it. And I'm like, you know what? That just sounds like a good show for what we're trying to do and the fun we try to have. I want to make a little story. We used to work the early morning shift. Wizard and I did together at the TV station. And, it'd always be following a pay-per-view of wrestling. That's how we garnered up our friendship, was talking about wrestling. CZ was the original WWE network to me. Back when Classics on Demand was still a thing, he would burn DVDs for me and bring them in, and we'd be swapping DVDs back and forth, weekly, Ring of Honor shows weekly. It's how we really got invested in the wrestling product, and it helped pass the time when you're working a crummy shift, coming into work at 2:30, 3 o'clock in the morning. There's not a lot of people in the building, and it really garnered our friendship of wrestling together. But he's the original WWE network to me, as he burned those DVDs for me and hooked me up so graciously back in the day.
Okay. Burning DVDs and working at a television station. I am jealous now.
We made use of our resources.
but instead of tape trading, you guys did DVD trading. So
we did. We really did.
A lot of people, I ask, younger people now, they're like, "What's tape trading?" I'm like, seriously? Then I got to remind myself, well, everything with how social media and stuff, especially YouTube, people can just be like, share here. This is what I watch. Go take a look at it.
Yeah.
Do you all think that this is actually something that was brought up to me today? Do you all think like that kind of sort of ruined the essence? Going from like our generation, we trade in DVD, trade with our friends and stuff all the time. Do you think like everything basically being on social media would be YouTube or the WWE or Peacock? I'm sorry, not WWE Network. Do you think that kind of took that kind of like that fun away? Like, okay, what is he going to trade me next, or was this person going to trade me next?
It may have. We live in that instant gratification society now, right? Where everything's at our fingertips and we're so spoiled. But I think, gosh, I even got on the tail end of the tape trading in college. I had a buddy who had ECW on his satellite dish. And when he would go home on weekends, would record them and put them on VHS for me. So that was my introduction to ECW. So has the instant gratification era ruined it? Yes. But also the instant gratification era gets us news out there faster. I'm glad to say that I'm from the DVD trading days. I won't disown it. I'm an oldie, CZ and I are similar in age. So I'm proud to be from that era. But I can see where you're getting to the point where the instant gratification era does kind of ruin it.
And I'm kind of on the fence myself, honestly. Yes, I think it does ruin it to an extent, but at the same time, you have all of these services and you can say, hey, log in here and check out this. Like this last WrestleMania weekend, watching the Collective, saw what in my opinion was one of the most entertaining matches of the weekend. It was ridiculous, but it was Dan the Dad versus Cheaton. If you don't know who Cheaton is, go out of your way, go onto Triller TV, Triller Plus, and look up DDT takes Philadelphia. It's ridiculous. I love a good comedy match, and I'm not going to say anything more. I'm not going to ruin it for anybody, but I showed this to my family who are kind of, what's the word? I can't think of the word I want. They're not wrestling fans, but they're wrestling approved, I guess, for lack of a better term. I was disappointed in my nephew's reaction. I thought he would think it was hilarious because he watched me play a match on WWE 2K between two action figures, and he was just unamused. But my sister was laughing her butt off the whole time.
And I can kind of see both. Because I came in, I was born in 94, so I kind of came in a little later. But I live in rural Kentucky. We still did it around here. I can kind of see both. Like, yes, the excitement and, what am I going to get now? Kind of takes it away. But then you have something like YouTube and also IWTV. For those who don't know what that is, that's independent wrestling television, which has a lot of independent wrestling. I know it's got a lot of, and I'm probably being a little biased because my cousin Roland was in IWA Mid-South, but it's got a lot of their old stuff in there, which you can see young CM Punk and all them come up.
Yep.
So it kind of does. I kind of see both because yes, the excitement's there, but no, you have easier access to old stuff like you wouldn't have back in the day. So I can kind of see that. But what would be something that you all would kind of like your 5-year, 10-year plan, whatever? What do you guys want the future to be for cards subject to change?
I know my biggest goal. So we focus a lot on SCW Pro, which is a promotion here locally in the Quad Cities, in the Midwest. And I love them to death. I love having their wrestlers on. My ideal focus when we do interviews is to branch out to other promotions, which we're starting to do, and just gain following by interviewing wrestlers from outside of our very specific area. Like we've got a few talent from Dreamwave coming on in the next couple of months. So that excites me, seeing people from Dreamwave, because they're, in my opinion, they've got IWTV. They're on there. They're a great promotion. For me personally, I just want to reach out to more people and bring more wrestling fans into into what we do. More wrestling fans and more, that to me provides more interviews of other wrestlers from outside of our area.
5-year plan. I mean, I'd love to do this full time. This is a hobby right now for both CZ and I. We do a lot of work, just for the podcast on the phone to each other. But we say kiddingly to ourselves, man, this would be great if this was our full-time gig. And, we would go 2 times a week and this is what we do. I mean, that's a dream, and maybe someday it'll happen. Maybe it won't, but for right now, it's getting to meet all these different wrestlers. And not just wrestlers. We had a podcast today where we had on a fan that is at all the shows and is a fan of our show. We had a fan on it and got their perspective. Just love getting people in a room together and talking wrestling and getting their perspective on things. It's corny, it's cliche, but wrestling is a big family. It really is. It has that family feel. You go to an independent show, you're yucking it up with other people. You're meeting new people. You're interacting with people. That's the part I love about it the most. So as long as we're able to bring in people, both old and new, into the show and sit and talk with them for 45 minutes to an hour about wrestling and what's going on in the wrestling world or what their take is on this particular angle or show. That's my goal. That's really what my goal is.
Okay. So you all work with an independent wrestling promotion, just, one notably for now. So how did that come about for you all?
We don't really work with them per se, but that's who I ring announced for. I'm friends with the guy who runs the show, who is also happens to be, we've got Seth Rollins' school right in our backyard, not to drop names, sorry. But Merrick Brave does a lot. He was our first interview. He's helped us coordinate a few interviews, and that really just a friendship there, based on my time spent working with him as a ring announcer, even though it was 10 years ago. Other than that, we just reach out to the wrestlers that we're fans of, even, whether they're good guy or bad guy, and say, hey, we'd love to hear your journey. That's what, for me, that's what it's all about. I love hearing someone's journey through professional wrestling. How did you get started? Why wrestling? What are your favorite things like that?
It just so happens they run a couple shows a month, and we were at these shows, and they've got so many dynamic personalities, so many different gimmicks. It's like, we need to start having these guys on. We can get these guys on. They're accessible, and we've just started reaching out this year. This year, I know CZ's goal was to get different promotions, different people on, and we're doing a good job of that. We just recently become a sponsor of another independent promotion, Absolute Pro Wrestling, based out of Iowa. They're a smaller promotion, but we've had them on the show before and gotten along great with them, hit it off with them, went to a show, and lo and behold, now we're going to be, sponsors of their product and proud to be sponsors. So just branching out, knowing that there's other wrestling out there, there's always an alternative out there. And I think that's what's great about this day and age of wrestling. It's not just the 2 or 3 big dogs that you see on national television all the time. The independent world is just this unopened, just this Pandora's box, if you will, of wrestling. Anywhere you go in this country, I know CZ traveled with a prior job and was able to see different independent shows in different states. Just anywhere you go, it just seems like wrestling is a constant. You can find a wrestling show. So getting people on, hearing their story, their journey, as CZ said, is what we're kind of about, and just talking wrestling.
That's awesome. So you all have interviewed a few people, as you say. Who would you say? You don't have to pick and choose. That way you don't have to offend anybody. That's why I say to people, it's like, I don't want you to get a hateful message after they see this show. Hey, why didn't you say I was your favorite? But who would you say would memorable episodes that you have that you would tell the fans here, hey, go check it out and watch it, because this is something I would personally say, if you're new, go check it out.
I would throw out there, we've had him on a couple times, and he's a friend of the show. He's burning up the independent scene right now, the one called Manders. He's prominent in GCW, Wrestling Revolver. He's a guy you see, on these shows weekly, but to take the time out and talk to us on his busy schedule and to tell his stories, his road stories, just stories from backstage in the locker room. When we were a fledgling podcast, I mean, I know we're still young in our we're still young as a show goes, but in our early days, he came on and was gracious enough to give us his time. And you see him at a show now, and it's just like your family. He comes up and gives you a big hug. But I would say, the episodes with Manders, I think we've had 2 of them, CZ. We've had him on twice, and just interacting with him and his stories that he has to tell, just as an up and comer, a guy you can, put a voice with a face when you see on TV and get to really know him through our interviews.
I'm gonna play the name dropper again, and I apologize, but we were fortunate enough to get 10 to 15 minutes at a local it's called Planet Funk Con, with both Mick Foley and Buff Bagwell. We had, like I said, about 10 to 15 minutes with each of them. It was one of my favorite episodes, but looking at the more independent scene, another good friend of the show. He's up and coming. He's making his rounds. He's starting to make his rounds across the country, little by little. His name is the Devil Dog, Dustin Mosley. And again, like Nick said, with Manders, you see him at a show. He's, hey, comes, gives you a big hug, and just happy to help us as we're happy to help promote him. That's what I love. Is, Nick said it best. It's a big family, and you got to help each other out.
Yeah, the wrestling industry is basically one big family, and I'm happy you all are experiencing that. Because a lot of people on the show know, I wrestled before I started my show, and there is some podcasters or some super fans who come take pictures and stuff like that. I still, even as a podcaster, still hug and say what's up, and some of the guys in the back still do that. So that's cool that you all are experiencing it elsewhere too. So that just shows, like, pro wrestling in itself is like one big, sometimes semi-dysfunctional thing.
I think you have to have dysfunction in wrestling for it to be great, though.
No, you got a good point. You have to. All right. So before we went live, we was talking a little bit here about your collections. And I asked who was the bigger collector. So I want to re-ask that again because I think that's pretty cool. It was a pretty good conversation.
Sure.
Let's see. We got a comment here. Who commented here? It looks like it's our good friend Ryan Mosley again. It's very true. Wrestling is a family, even if you just meet someone at a show. As said, you are family. So, yeah, that's true. Well, to backtrack what he said, there is some wrestlers, even if you just meet them once. I know Mick Foley is one of those people that is like that. If you just meet him once, he will remember you, like, down the road sometimes. You just got to jog his memory a little bit. But with the collections, because I do Collector's Corner, which is something I do for the show, who has the biggest collection out of you two?
I mean, it really depends on what you're talking about. For me, I have probably 40 to 60 wrestling Funko Pops. I have a small collection of autographs and just memorabilia. When I switched, I used to be in a different area broadcasting, which you could see my wrestling wall behind me. I've since moved into an office area in the house where I don't have my collection behind me, but as you can see, I've got the big gold behind me. Also have the NWA World Heavyweight Championship. But my pride and joy, because I am the biggest promo fan from Scott Steiner, is right behind me here. We talked about it off air. This is by Eric. Help me on it. Is it Hodkins? Eric Hodkins?
Something like that, yes.
He is, look him up on Facebook. He does these comic book covers for wrestling and many other things. Brilliant artist. This is the Scott Steiner numbers promo brought to life like a comic book cover. But yeah, other than that, that's my collection is Funko Pops. That's where my big collection goes. Nick, I know you can see some of his behind him right there.
Yeah, I like to collect, either I take pictures and have them sign them down the road, or I get show posters I have a similar print to his Scott Steiner. One of mine's right here. Mine's FTR and the Briscoes from their first matchup. I'm a huge tag team fan. I love FTR. I love the Briscoes. I like to get show posters signed if I'm at a show. I don't collect figures or anything. I do break cards every once in a while and trade some cards. So I guess that's my extent of my wrestling collection. But I like to have it hanging up here behind me on my podcast. I call it my wrestle wall. It's where I record out here. Took the third stall of my garage during COVID and transformed it into my recording studio and where I watch all my pay-per-views and stuff. So it's not much, but it's where I like to be. So that's where I show off my collection.
Yeah, you guys have an individual offices. That's like my long-term goal, because I technically have a little office, but it's like a little subsection off to the living room where I have my collectibles shown at.
Sure.
So, but I will hopefully that's long-term goal. I'll end up building me a home office and having all that set up. But you, Nick, you actually said something pretty interesting. You was talking about tag teams. Now, do you think, and this is something we even talk about for the promotions I work for, do you think tag team wrestling is it's not really a lost art, but it's kind of a lost art? Would you kind of agree with that, or what's your take on that?
You know, in recent years, we've been spoiled with some really great tag team action. FTR, the Briscoes, I'll even throw the Young Bucks in there, even though I'm not a big fan of them. Even recently with Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn, the Usos, I'll even throw Finn Balor and Damian Priest in there. They did a great job defending those belts. I think people look at tag team wrestling and maybe see that as, oh, the title's not, the main title's not up for grabs. I don't have to pay attention here. But I think when you got four guys coming together for a match, more moving parts, it just makes it so much more unique. And I've always been drawn. I've always been drawn as a little kid to the tag team part of it. It's my favorite part of the show. I love seeing double team moves. I love seeing two guys work together. I love when matches come down to the hot tag. Even when R-Truth was doing it during the Royal Rumble, I popped for that. I thought it was great. I thought it was great when he did it during WrestleMania during the ladder match. But it is a lost art. I think it's underappreciated. Tag team wrestling is been there since the beginning of wrestling. It's a way to get more people on the card, and it's always drawn me. I love the team aspect. I love two guys in a uniform coming out together and working together to take down the other team. And it is a lost art. I wish more people would appreciate it. Maybe they do. They're just not speaking out about it. But I'm an absolute tag team mark, and CZ will vouch for that.
CZ, what's your take on that?
I tend to agree. I mean, like Nick said, we've been spoiled recently. I'll give a shout out to FTR, who I've followed more since Nick and I have started the podcast. Looks like you're going to be in a tag team here pretty soon.
So, yeah, you got a tag team partner.
I'll address him after your statements. Nut job, I swear.
But no, FTR is really, I think, the best tag team out there right now, because they're just an old school throwback to what tag team wrestling should be. I'd love to see, I know we saw it when they were the Revival against the Usos, but I would love to see the modern day Usos against FTR. I think that'd be those are, if you go back, we have an episode on our podcast where we talked about our wrestling Mount Rushmores of tag teams. That's the only Mount Rushmore episode we've done. May revisit it, but at the time, Nick's number one tag team was FTR. Mine was the Usos. And there's a reason for that, because particularly FTR, I think they're a throwback. But in the grand scheme of things, tag team wrestling is nowhere near what it should be or what it used to be.
No, I agree with you. Jesus, Cal, come on, man. But no, I agree with you, CZ. Okay, so Cal from Friends of the Square Circle first said, for those who aren't watching, said Joe and I are going to be a tag team in 2024 as podcast hosts. I don't remember signing an agreement to that, but and he said, "Don't bury me in a Hulk Hogan voice, brother." God, come on, Cal.
That ain't gonna work for me, brother.
I want to pull my creative card, brother. This isn't WCW. You can't do that. Oh man, we have way too much fun here. All right, so wrestling. What would you guys? Because I know you all, CZ. You said you like old school tag teams. One of my personal favorites, and I'm not saying this because I am a Jim Cornette fan, but kind of, yeah, is the Midnight Express and Rock and Roll Express. That's what I grew up watching. Yeah, I know I was born in '94 and I watched them. It's called wrestling tapes, people. Come on. But what would you say is something else that some of the from a fan's perspective, that the newer generation of professional wrestlers could go back and study and watch that you would like to see personally?
Ooh.
Good question.
That is a good question. I'm going to have to think on that. I know one thing I'm a sucker for is a good elimination match. Not necessarily like the Elimination Chamber, but I think there's a lot that can be said from 4 or 5 guys in the ring doing an elimination match, and it's the last man standing. You can learn a lot because of the dynamics of something like that. That's the best answer I have right now. I'd have to, you threw me for a loop there, Joe. I'll be honest. That's a great question.
Nick, do you have an answer?
Yeah, I would say, I'm a mark for Dean Malenko and his work in WCW. There was a guy who took like the TV title and elevated it. I love guys that put the work in that WCW mid card. I'm talking guys like Dean Malenko, Lord Steven Regal, Fit Finley. I loved those characters watching WCW Nitro when I was able to watch Nitro and when I could watch WCW TV. There he is, the man of 1,000 holds, Texas Cloverleaf, the best submission finisher. If I was a wrestler, that'd be my finisher. I wish we had more guys like that. We kind of get that maybe with a Bryan Danielson, with a Zack Sabre Jr. nowadays. But I really would. I love those technician matches. It's not just. I'm not knocking the high flying stuff because I do get a kick out of the high flying stuff in certain cases, in certain matches. But the ring technicians, the guys like the Dean Malenkos, the Steven Regals, the Fit Finleys, the guys that hit hard and sold harder and did a lot of mat-based wrestling. That's what I think's missing today and what I'd like to see more of.
No, I agree with you there. I think people like Dean Malenko, dare I say, I know I'll plug him a lot, and people's probably sick of me putting the same out here. Owen Hart was, people like both of those men were way ahead of their time.
Way ahead. Way ahead.
And could probably still go if they could with people today. Princess Squared Circle said, it's not WCW, duh, the lights are on and you're open for business. Fair point. Fair point. And then a wrestler, a good friend of mine and a good friend of the Joe Monroe Show. I agree, Nick. I love that mat wrestling, is what Friends of the Squared Circle said. But also Party Man Cam, he is a wrestler for Triple Crown and Ultimate Championship Wrestling. Party Man Cam, what is going on, my friend? That guy is a weirdo, but he is a good friend of mine. Just go watch the interviews and you realize why I say
we all have friends like that, right?
There's always at least that one friend, that's a weirdo and loves to party too much. That's Party Man Cam. All right. But gentlemen, we are actually a little over the 30-minute mark. But I do want to say it has been really, really fun having both of you on here. This has been a really, really good episode. Oh my goodness gracious. Oh, okay. No, it's a Party Man. I am weird too. Let's be friends. Well, never mind. I can't say it on air. Okay, so we'll just let's just move on from that. Sorry, Cal. I got bust your chops a little bit, buddy. But looks like you know what? No, we'll go a little bit longer. I don't care. It's my show. I know it's not fair to a bunch of them, but hey, you guys are the first double interview I'm able to do, so we'll go a little bit longer here.
All right.
So you all said, Nick, you said you're a big fan of the Dean Malenkos. CZ, we'll go ahead and this is for both of you again. Who would you say would be a wrestler that you have gravitated towards? Either growing, it could be, both growing up and currently. So whoever wants to go first.
First name that comes to mind, got to be Shawn Michaels. Always been a big HBK fan. Mr. WrestleMania for a reason. More modern time. Oh, that's tough. I want to say Seth Rollins, but that sounds like a cop out because he's in my backyard. Really, I like what people like Will Ospreay and Zack Sabre Jr., who are kind of bringing back that technical ability with the high flying that can just put on a brilliant match. Those come to mind also in recent times.
Sorry, James Kendrick Mathenly. He wrestled as James Kendrick, good friend of the show. Miss Chops. I don't want to know. My chest does not want to hurt right now, James. You can tell me about him later, buddy. Oh man. All right, Nick. Who would you say past? It can still be Dean Malenko. You probably already answered it. And also current.
Past, really, as a kid growing up, I really was drawn to Bret the Hitman Hart. You know, he was a successful tag team wrestler that broke off and, you know, built himself through the independent or the intercontinental belt scene, until he finally won the world championship. There he is, the excellence of execution. I got to meet Bret last fall, and they say don't meet your heroes, and I'm telling you, meet him, because he was top class, took time with me, didn't try to rush you through the line. He was great. I'll forever remember meeting Bret Hart. Nowadays, it's Gunther. He's a big dude that can work. I fell in love with him when he was Walter, a bit chubbier before he got that glow up. I really loved seeing I'm a big fan of a guy who can go in a ring, and he's a technician, but he also hits so hard, known for those chops. So I would say Bret Hart growing up, but really Gunther, whatever he does now, I stop what I'm doing and I'm watching his matches, his promos, and I can't wait to see where the future leads, what waits for him in the future.
No, I agree with you on Gunther or Walter. I know him as Walter, so
yeah, I know. Walter, Gunther.
I was just like, why did you rebrand him? Why? But I guess Gunther is more, sounds better. I don't know why they did that. I'm surprised he didn't go back to Walter whenever Paul Levesque took over. Friends of the Court Circle said Montez Ford is becoming one. He said on, but I think it's supposed to be one I look forward to seeing on my TV. I agree with you. I think both Street Profits. They're a good combination tag team. They can be serious, but they can also be really, really funny at the same time. So I kind of agree with that.
Love that tag team mix. They got the high flyer with Montez, and then the brute strength of Angelo Dawkins is a good worker too. Underrated worker. I
agree with you on that. Very underrated worker. I would have to say, let's see if I can answer my own question. I can. Okay. Owen was probably my favorite past wrestler because he's one I really gravitated towards, even just watching him today. Current. I probably have to agree with Nick. Gunther is like, to me, he feels like that old school wrestler that you legit do not want to yell at or pick a fight with, because you know if he comes toward you, you're going to get scared to death and probably crap your pants.
Joe,
he's hard to argue with.
I think there's something to talk about, like with his simplicity. His moveset isn't the most dazzling in the world.
No,
but it's effective. Chops, German suplexes, power bombs. He has the Boston Crab he uses as a submission. With those chops, you take him to the next level. I mean, I love his simplistic moveset, but he is such a monster.
Yeah, like he's one. I'll peel back the curtain of wrestling a little bit. When I was training, we was told kind of like less is more.
Yes.
Especially when it comes to your body. And yes. I agree with that theory. And I think that's what a lot of people, especially nowadays, are starting to realize, fans-wise, less is more, and you get more entertainment out of that. You get more drawn into a story. So I agree with that. Now, Friends of the Squared Circle actually has a question. How dare you, Cal? This is my show. But you know what? We take fan questions as well. Who did you all love since day one? And he said Sheamus. For me, I love that guy.
Can I take a hot take here?
Go ahead.
I gotta say The Miz. I know he got everybody to hate him right away, so he was doing his job. And I think he's always been an underrated worker and an underrated talent who deserves more than he's been given, although he's had some pretty good runs throughout his career.
Nick?
I'll say Damian Priest. I liked him. The whole Archer of Infamy gimmick in NXT, although not the best gimmick, he went out there and worked some great matches. Always been a big fan of a big guy who can work, who can move. He's not just a big body in there. He's got a pretty diverse move set. And then, when he joined up with the Judgment Day, just took it to the next level. And of course, cashing in at WrestleMania. But that's a guy I've rooted for since day one. Is Damian Priest, and I think he got an unfair nod at first in NXT, but worked his way through, and here he is, the World Heavyweight Champion.
Yeah, and when people said you deserve it, and he said, it's my show, damn right I deserve it. He was 100%, because you got to think the guy's journey from the independents. I mean, dude, he was overweight there for a little bit, and then for him to transform like that, what was his Ring of Honor name? When he
Punishment Martinez.
Thank you, Punishment Martinez. That, like, I love that character. I was like, oh my god, this guy's going to be great. And I think everybody realized, like, they were right. Like, this guy was going to be something. Oh god, here we go. Friends in Square Circle says it's my show now. Yeah, okay. Yeah. I'm not a nice guy, so no, you can't take over my show. And he said, Wizard, he agrees with you. That's an awesome pick. Mike D from Wrestling of the 313. We had him on our third episode. No, not third. Our second episode. Wow, brain concussion, got confused there. What's up, Mike? How you doing, bro? And James Manley said Shinsuke Nakamura for him. Yeah, the king of strong style. I have to agree.
Yeah,
even though WWE really hasn't done much with him, but especially his New Japan days and whenever he first came into WWE, absolutely. So does let's go ahead. Does anybody here, whether have any more questions for these fine gentlemen? Because we're having too heck of a good time. I really don't want to end unless you guys need to go or anything.
No,
because this has been really fun. I've had fun with this one. Does anybody else have any questions except for Cal? Cal, you cannot ask any more questions. I'm kidding. Oh crap! I guess I can answer his question. First one. I don't want to say his name on the air. Probably Dudley Boys. Whenever that's one that I can remember. Like whenever I remember their debut. Still, I was very, very young, but I still remember that debut whenever they came in and beat the crap out of everybody. I think Bubba had like a 2x4 and everything, and he dressed like how my uncle dressed at the time, because my uncle and Devon just going off. Yeah, so it'd definitely be the Dudley Boys back then. Oh God, who gives you the ick? Don't say me. Yeah, you. I'm kidding. We got to be positive on this show, Cal. Positive.
Nick, I'm going to let you start with that one because I.
Oh man, the Young Bucks.
Okay, yeah, I got to agree with that. Well,
yeah,
I can't take away from their ring talent. They're one of the greatest tag teams of all time in the ring, but the whole EVP gimmick and how they've handled things, I'm not a fan of. So I would say they're ick for me.
I'm gonna one up you there and say Tony Khan.
No, you're not going to get blocked, Cal. I promise. No, I have to agree with both of you, especially. Well, let's talk about this for a little bit. The wrestling news here. Everybody's probably talking about it. I mean, what's your guys' thoughts on them showing the backstage video at Wembley? I mean, why?
Unnecessary.
Yeah, it is. It really is unnecessary. And I felt bad for poor Tony Schiavone. He's having WCW flashbacks. Sorry, WCW 2000 flashbacks. We all know that was a terrible time.
Oh,
yeah. But the whole thing, like, people are putting the interview with Punk with the Wembley video, and it for shot is like perfect for what his story's saying. I think personally if you're going to be a multi-billion dollar or try to be a multi-billion dollar company, don't show that crap. Kind of be like, yeah, it happened, whatever. He's gone. Everybody's happy now. Let's move on. But to me, it's just like, I know you guys are trying to get heat, but this is the wrong way to get heat.
Yeah, I think it kind of backfired on him. I mean, it just legitimized what Punk told us already. I think they kind of took it the wrong way. Punk wasn't attacking them. He was asked the question by Ariel Helwani on that podcast of WrestleMania week. He answered the question. He didn't bring it up. It just, they showed the footage and it was like, yeah, we knew that already. And then they're twisting the angle that FTR planned it for their upcoming match. I just don't get it. They could have went about this a whole different way. The guy's living rent free in their head. He's in the other company. He's injured right now, but here he is getting some run on the opposition show. I mean, he was on Mania, Raw, and Dynamite last week. I mean, think about that. That's unheard of, but it's unfortunate they aired it, in my opinion. It just legitimized what Punk said and already told us.
So,
it's
go
cringy.
Ahead,
I was just going to say the whole thing is cringy.
Yeah, it's just like...
Yeah. I mean, my stance on Tony Khan is he's trying to be more of a friend than a boss. I have said this on our podcast. I've said it in passing to other people. What they need to do is they need to bring someone in who can rein in the talent, give the book to someone. And I always struggle with a name. The only name that comes to mind ever is Bill Watts, but someone who's going to rein in the talent and not make it such a buddy, I'm your friend, let's do whatever you want, just glad handing each other backstage. That aside, Tony Khan's a petulant child.
Yeah, I mean, look at Kevin Sullivan before the whole 2000s things. I mean, he was kind of like in the 90s, 99. He was helping WCW get back up there. Then they're like, oh, well, we don't want you no more. And then it went downhill. Friends of the Squared Circle said, my ick is AEW Keith Lee. Dude was on the rise. I couldn't agree with you more. They have definitely... I don't know what they've done to poor Keith Lee. I think he was trying to get fired in a WWE interview because you see him walk past by. I'm like, yeah, just let him go back. I mean, they're going to treat him a lot better than what AEW's treated him. The only person I think they've really... Go ahead.
No, I was going to say Keith Lee, a former tag champ, right? And now he's not even on Rampage. I mean, that tells you everything you need to know.
He's not even on Ring of Honor. That should tell you what you should know.
Yeah.
Ring of Honor is not even televised. We was promised to, if I'm not mistaken, was we not promised that Ring of Honor would be on national television?
Yes.
Okay, and we didn't get it. What the heck?
No, we haven't gotten it yet.
Oh, and Mike D from Wrestling for the 303 says the CM Punk Jack Perry video was AEW's finger poke.
It appears that way. It does appear that way, Wrestling from the 313. It does. I would agree with you there.
Mike, come on, bro. Come on. And then, oh, God. Francis Squirt Cycle said, don't disparage the good name of the Polka Doom. Oh, good night, Irene.
The footage of Doom. I mean, is that what we're going to call it? It's the footage of Doom?
The footage, yeah, that's actually pretty good. Can we put a patent on that? Can that be ours? Can we make some money off of it?
Let's do it.
Put it on a t-shirt. Footage of Doom.
Footage. Yeah. Hey, you make $1 million with that, pal. But no, they got a good point. But he does bring up a good point. This is like the modern day figure Polka Doom. They've shot themselves in the foot, and they can recover from it. I think maybe. If not, I mean, it's their own doom. I mean, this is what you get when you have, and I think this is something that a lot of people, backstage, why there's a lot of promotions that shut down quick, is they try to, like you all said, promoters try to be friends rather than a boss. Then people act like children. I mean, Jack Perry's probably a great example of that, and the Young Bucks now. It just, I think it ruined their reputation. I agree with you all.
Yeah.
Like, I personally, if they ever come back to Corbin, because I'm in Kentucky, if they ever come back to Corbin, Kentucky, I probably won't take my kids back to that show. Just because of, if this is who I'm paying money to, then absolutely not.
And I want them to be good because
Yeah.
when they're good, WWE is going to be better and it's going to be good. Competition is great for everybody. And there's guys on that AEW roster I love, and I want them nothing but the best for them. But at the same time, they just don't seem to develop storylines over there. And the storylines they do have, they rush them. And I know injuries happen. They happen to everybody, but they've been bitten by the injury bug and they just seem to not have really recovered from it. Whereas a more professional, organized organization probably would have, in my opinion.
No, I agree with you on that. And, Shane Strickland or Swerve Strickland, there's someone I've watched, I've watched him in Knoxville, Tennessee at independent promotions before he got big. And I knew he was going to be something. And I'm happy he's getting recognized the way he is. But just because you have a promoter said this to me, if there's a crappy show and you have a good match, guess what? You had a good match on a crappy show.
Yeah.
Yes.
And my question to you bring up Swerve Strickland. How long before he gets swept under the rug like everybody else they've pushed for a hot minute?
3 months tops.
Yeah.
3 months tops. He'll ride out his contract and he'll go back to WWE if he's smart. Since Paul Levesque is, I think you see a lot of these people starting to come back since, old Vin Man's out and probably going to be in prison, it sounds like, if everything goes well. But and he deserves so if all that's true. I've read that and I have nightmares about Vince McMahon now, not in a good way. But he, I think like the Paul Levesque era I think it's going to bring back professional wrestling in a way. Starting with what Heyman said in his Hall of Fame speech, he started saying sports entertainment and quickly cut it off and said professional wrestling. I was like, there we go. That's what we need. WWE just saves themselves right there.
Yep.
That's what we need right there. We need professional wrestling back in WWE. All right, let's see. We got some comments here. Only good thing is they gave all wrestling pages, podcasters, etc., something to talk about. That is exactly right, and they're the talk of the town right now. Exactly. That's all they wanted. They wanted that high rating for a hot minute, and they got it. AEW should give, and this is from Wrestling from the 313 for those who aren't watching, AEW should give one of their 3 days on TV to Ring of Honor. Yes, I agree.
Agreed. Do away with Rampage and put Ring of Honor on Friday nights.
Yeah,
there you go.
I agree. That right there, I would think would save them just a little bit. But will the storylines be good would be another question.
Right.
And friends, they better not F over Strickland. No, I agree. They better not. Because if they do, I think they would have a riot on their hands.
Yeah, I do too.
From most of the people, because a lot of people they about had a riot over CM Punk until they're like, well, he was a bully, and people are like, well, I mean, he is tough, so we'll move on. But I think it should, with this video, I think it kind of sparks that back up. Like, okay, well, he was right. So, oh God, he said, Francis Scorsese said 100%. I'll fight Tony myself. Oh, come on. I'll
watch.
pay money.
I'll watch.
I'll pay for that.
I would pay money to see Cal hat on backwards and everything. I can't say this on air. Take on Tony Khan when he's kind of macho manned out. I'll say that you guys probably get my drift on.
I get your drift.
Yeah.
Okay, there you go.
Hey, you mean Tony Khan when he's not blinking?
Exactly. That Tony Khan. The Tony Khan that's wearing like this furry hat whenever he's doing a press conference. Get out of here. Get out of here with that crap. You got to be kidding me. Usually I don't talk about WWE or AEW on my show, but just this past week, I'm like, how can I not talk about it? Because it's bull crap. Because even from an independent promotion, I know we're small at Triple Crown and Ultimate Championship Wrestling, but the promoter, God, hang on, I'll show you this comment whenever it pops up because I got a bad feeling because I see Friends of the Squared Circle typing again. So I'm telling what Cal's going to say. Cal's the pipe bomber of the Joe Monroe show, folks. There we go. But it's like he said, I'll say Terry England. That's who said this. People like this is kind of like those independent promotions that start up with tax money, and then like 2 months later they're out of money and they don't know what to do. Yeah. That's exactly how this is acting. And Oh, good night, Irene. I'm built like Otis podcast. Oh no. Oh, he's not blinking dead. Oh god. Well, okay. So okay, Crander. I want to tell them this little short story here about Otis and involving Otis's mother. So this one here ruined Otis's mother's birthday.
Oh no.
Good job, Crander. I hope you feel bad. I'm kidding. No, he actually did do that. Stop it. I'm kidding, buddy. I'm kidding. He probably forgave you too. Maybe. I don't know. I don't know, Otis. He probably did or did not. Anyways, oh man, I love picking on Crander. But shout out to him. He was the one that did this lovely background that we have here now. So thank you, Crander Q, Friends of the Squared Circle. You guys, you're awesome, man. Thank you so much. But you all know Crander. He said he's has he helped y'all out as well?
Absolutely.
Yes.
Yep. And we're thankful, very much thankful.
Very much so.
Right. I feel like him and Mayhem Media needs to make a network for all of us. That way we all gets paid and we can do this full time like we want to.
That sounds like a great idea to me.
I'm all about it. Bring it on.
Get that 5-year plan. Get that 5-year plan kicked into motion right now, right?
Yeah, we can sign off. We can get Fight TV to sign off on this, right?
Yeah.
Let's see. Wrestling for 303. What do you all think of the new twist of the Bloodline story? Ooh, so that's actually big news with Tama Tonga coming in.
Love it. I absolutely love it.
And how they're building Tama Tonga as he should be, this cold-blooded killer that everybody should know. And Paul Heyman's selling the crap out of it. That's something I love the most.
Yes.
And them attacking Jimmy. For those who didn't watch SmackDown, spoiler alert, they attacked Jimmy Uso. Him and Solo Sikoa did. Solo went savage on him with Samoan spikes. I lost count of how many Jimmy took.
I'm just happy that Solo Sikoa's got something. He's got something to do now. They're giving him some mic time. He's not just standing there being the heavy muscle anymore. He seems to kind of be breaking away this rogue bloodline group. And the fact that Paul Heyman is flabbergasted and just doesn't shocked, I love it. I love this whole twist on it, and I'm tuned in. They got my money. I can't wait to see where it goes.
Yeah. And we also have Jacob Fatu that's confirmed son. So let's wait on that. Go ahead with CZ. Sorry, buddy.
No, I was just agreeing. And you mentioning Jacob Fatu, I think we're going to see Jimmy and Jay come back together with Roman on a face bloodline against Solo, Tama Tonga, and Jacob. I think that's kind of where I see things going, and I'm all in.
So here's my take on it. I thought about this. Me and a buddy of mine talked about it. Rikishi is we think, if I'm not mistaken, in the actual family, the bloodline, I think Rikishi does hold the rank of tribal chief in real life. I think. So could you imagine Rikishi coming back with his sons? I mean, we've all been wanting it. And hang on, Friends of the Squared Circle. I didn't ruin it. Ha ha ha. Just shut up with the Money in the Bank briefcase and fangirled out. No biggie. Well, I mean, you ruined a birthday party. I'm kidding, buddy. And James Manley said, I really hope they let Tama Tonga be himself. James, I think they will. Just how he acted towards Paul Heyman and how Paul Heyman was so, because that was classic Tama Tonga, and the way he attacked Jimmy Uso, that was just like, I was like, oh my goodness, I think Paul Levesque's onto something here. Let's see where this goes. And let's see. Friends of the Square Circle said, someone said Rock is calling shots and he's the new tribal chief? ? Way to build up another younger star genius. Well, Solo, new tribal chief. That's the question. Wrestling from 303. He was at SmackDown when this happened. So, Mike D, if you can, if you want to do like a live reaction to it, I wish we can get you on here, but if you want to do a live, just tell us how that was being there. I mean, I would have loved to be there. That's like a big signing to me, I think, because he was with New Japan for years. and I believe he did some things with Ring of Honor with God and all that.
He did. Yep.
Tongalea, his tag partner, is that his brother or cousin? I can't remember.
Yes.
Yes and yes. Okay.
Yes.
They're related. So it would be nice to see him come in too and see like the WWE's version of God as a tag team, because that tag team would run rampant in WWE. I think it would be kind of a little bit better than the Usos. That's just me. It's his brother. Okay, thanks, James. But I think that's the first thing Tony was like, are we getting God plus Jacob Fatu with Solo Sikoa? My goodness, this would be one heck of a bloodline. What would you guys think if Tongalea would come and we see like a WWE version of God?
I'm all for it. I even like that idea of Rock being the shot caller for this rogue group. Then we get a Rock Roman match somewhere down the line for supremacy of the family. It doesn't need a title. Back when CM Punk got hurt at the Royal Rumble, there was talk of a Rock and Roman match, and everybody's like, it doesn't need the title or whatever. It doesn't. And if the title of Tribal Chief is enough for this feud, I like that idea. I forgot who wrote that in here, but I like that idea of Rock leading this rogue group. And I'm anxious to see with the signing of Jacob Fatu if they'll bring in any more members besides them to play the numbers game with the original bloodline.
CZ, what's your thoughts?
No, I'm just invested to see where it goes. I would love to see God. That would be awesome. I think WWE is on fire right now, and it's going to be hard for them to stop their momentum. It's going to take something really stupid, and I don't think Uncle Paul is going to do anything stupid.
No, he's not going to do anything stupid, especially with the people he's got working for the back. I mean, I think eventually we'll have Paul Heyman backstage working again.
Yes.
And that would be just tremendous because he said in his Hall of Fame he's not done yet. And I'm like, yes, please put him on the writing team. That's who we need on the writing team immediately. No offense to Michael P.S. Hayes. No offense to you, sir, but I think Paul Heyman's just got a little bit more of a storylines that could elevate even more. I mean, look what he done with the ECW. Hang on, let's see. Okay, Wrestling for 313 commented and said the crowd was live from the start to finish, and it was a sellout. One of the best SmackDown shows I've been to. So yeah, it's still lucky that you were there. And Friends of Square Circle said this would be a killer box set in a few years with all the bloodline stories. No, I agree.
Yeah.
And I don't know if they'll make. Are they going to make any more DVDs, or have they actually?
I think physical media production has stopped, but I mean, more documentaries on Peacock, more documentaries on Netflix, right? When they take over control after Peacock's deal's done. Something that WWE does a great job of is those documentaries. So
they're killing it on those Peacock documentaries, man. I mean, look at just let's look at the recent three. You know, there was Cody Rhodes' story, Angle, which was very well put together.
Angles was great. Oh, that was great.
It's probably the best one aside from Bray's, the most recent one that was just put in. That was great. I choked up a little bit just watching it, especially when
the Bray one's so sad. It's so sad. I've invested some time this weekend in watching the one that's streaming on the Roku channel, the WWE Next Gen.
I have not. I got Roku myself. I haven't watched it yet.
It is phenomenal. They do a phenomenal job. Phenomenally produced. It's kind of like Tough Enough, but a kinder, gentler version of Tough Enough, if you know what I mean. It's excellent. I can't recommend it enough. I'm almost done with it. I think there's 8 episodes. I'm on episode 6, but you're meeting this new batch of recruits and kind of picking the ones you like and the ones you don't, and rooting for them. So it's cool. It's a good show. I can't recommend it enough.
Crater, you need to quit because CZ needs to talk here. Michael Hayes is close to Seth Rollins' personal wardrobe. Oh my goodness gracious! Come on, bro. Hey, come on.
Seth Rollins didn't know it, but he was doing a tribute to yours truly, coming out looking like a wizard on night 2. I'm just saying.
You know, that was probably one of my favorite Mania entrances this year.
Yeah,
I thought that was cool.
I agree.
But CZ, what's your take on that? What we're talking about here with we're not getting physical media no more, sadly. I wish we were. But with the documentaries, especially the 3 recent ones I mentioned, would you agree with that statement? Like they're hitting pretty hard on it.
Wholeheartedly. I have not had a chance to watch the Bray one yet. It is high on my priority list, but the Angle, Cody Rhodes, they've hit it out of the park. I've watched the first episode of the Roku show. That was really entertaining, and I'm invested. Everything they're doing is just fantastic.
Right. Speaking of fantastic, Wrestling Friend 303 commented, "Oh, they played a cryptid song at SmackDown again. Uncle Howdy is coming." So, I don't want to spoil it for CZ. Do you want spoilers? Would you be all right with this?
Go ahead. I'm fine.
Okay. I'll give you the special ending. Nick, I know you've seen it. The very end, you need to watch. I'll say this, ZZ, you need to watch all of the Bray Wyatt one when you get time. Okay. It's very well put together and it makes sense. At the end, Undertaker narrates it, by the way. So just heads up on that, which I think couldn't get ask anybody better to do it. But at the end, after you see behind the scenes stuff and it rolls through the credits, you see Bray's lantern on a table and it flickers back on in the background. You see Uncle Howdy.
Okay.
And
that sounds really cool.
And here lately, there's been cryptic messages. I know on their Twitter. I don't know if you all have seen it. It says "You forgot about us?" ? And Eric Rowan just recently had to cancel an independent show that he was scheduled to appear on due to a new contract obligation. So I think we're about to get the Wyatt 6. And to me, I think a lot of people are like, well, I don't know. To me, though, Bray Wyatt was such an idealist, even though he is gone physically, spiritually, and just how well of a story he had developed. You could run with that for years.
You absolutely could. And having his brother involved and referring back to Bray all the time, it's not tacky. It's going to be done right. And you can introduce some new stars this way, with a new family. So I'm open to it, and I'm kind of looking forward to seeing how they do it. I mean, and props. I mean, Bo Dallas in that documentary, his brother, seems to be a really cool dude, and for him to get another chance at it, living in it with his brother's legacy and doing the Wyatt thing, I think would be fantastic. I'm all for it.
CZ.
Yeah, I'm all in. Bo Dallas was very underrated, deserved more than what they gave him, but that was a different era, and I don't think he's going to be done wrong by Paul Levesque. I really don't. I think it's going to be great.
No, I agree with you. I think it's going to be great. So Wyatt 6 group, who you got? Because right now, obviously, I think we're going to get Bo, Eric, Braun, and Alexa. That's 4. So we're missing 2 more. He's saying Cross. Now, I think Cross's group that he has right now, if done right, could be a major group, especially if they're going back down to NXT. Honestly,
can I throw out Dexter Lumis? Is he still with the company? We haven't seen him in a while.
No, Dexter Lumis would be kind of like a good Mercy the Buzzard in a way, because he's stalkerish like a buzzard. He's quiet like how Mercy was. Goodness, great. That's actually a great question, Crander. I would honestly pull. I would pull someone who we haven't seen before. This, I think, would probably be a good time to bring in a newer talent that we haven't seen, and just to see how they would do. Kind of help them. Like, okay, here's a mega group we're going to put you in. Kind of like how Evolution was to Randy Orton. Here's a group we're going to put you in. You get to be, we'll say, Huskus the Pig Boy, or something like that. And then
how about Joe Gacy?
I was just thinking the same thing.
I was thinking that because Joe Gacy had something a little bit going on in NXT, but what has he done lately?
Right.
And he's a good talker too. I think he could have went kind of toe to toe with Bray, and I think they could have had one heck of a feud.
Oh yeah.
He could have been like Bray's understudy that turned against Bray, something like that.
Right. Wrestling from 313 stated, I think the Uncle Howdy character will be done right under Triple H. Yeah, I agree. It will. It will, 100%. And James Manley said, as long as they keep Bray's voice either saying we're here or let us in for the music, I don't think they would have any other choice. I think if they were smart and then I think the family would sign off on it immediately, especially after what we're seeing, we'll be able to hear kind of like clips and voices of Bray from like beyond. I think that would be amazing to kind of keep him in the fold. But that's kind of getting goosebumps just thinking about it. Nikki Cross, sorry. Oh, come on. Nikki, I'm sorry, Alexa. Nikki would be a good fit in a way, but Alexa's already there. She already has that history with Ray, so she's kind of that Sister Abigail already.
Yeah.
So
I would agree. When she comes back, that's where she needs to be.
Yeah, I definitely, and I think that's what she's wanting to do, because she said in the documentary, "Sorry, CZ, I'm ruining it again. You can kill me later." Like they grew, her and Wyndham grew very, very close because of that, and he grew close with anybody he worked with. That just told you how big of a guy he was, inspirational wise.
Yep.
And we also got to see, CZ, you may have seen it on Twitter or on social media, we got to see a new version of The Fiend because The Fiend was going to come back.
Yes, and I did see that.
That I was like, oh my God, that's scarier than the original Fiend. Could you imagine if he had that feud or if he didn't have his health problems? This is probably what we would have seen with LA Knight. This is the version of The Fiend that he would have gotten to face, and just the rivalry they would have because LA Knight's on fire still. Well,
yes,
not as much as what he has been, but he would have a great rivalry with Bray if Bray was still living. I agree. Let's see. I'm so excited to see what happens. Wrestling is on fire all over the place. Absolutely.
Well said.
And Rachel Ray said, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh man. Oh man, yeah. So I watched him when he was Eli Drake. Do you guys remember him as Eli Drake?
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Oh my goodness, that dummy. Yeah. Bring that to WWE, please.
Yes, I'd be all about that.
I would too.
Let's see what's LA. Oh, come on. What the heck? We were starting to like you. And then you scored us yet again.
I thought we were friends.
Yeah, now me and CZ's, we're all three friends now, okay? The heck with you, dude. I'm kidding.
Absolutely.
But how can you crap on? Okay, no, explain yourself, sir. Explain yourself for this comment. For people who are listening on Spotify, he said LA Knight equals poop emoji and throw up emoji. That was from Friends at the Squared Circle. How dare you? He is the current. I don't say this, but a buddy of mine says this. He's kind of like the current era DDP, where he is a little bit older than the rest of the roster, but can go.
Yes.
Taking
good care of his body. He's in great shape. No major injuries. I mean, he looks like $1 million.
Oh yeah. CZ, what do you think?
Oh, absolutely. Been a fan since his NXT days. I was a fan of his Eli Drake days. What really put me over on him was his feud with Cameron Grimes, the $1 million title feud, where Cameron Grimes was his butler. But no, I'm invested. I think he's fantastic. I love it.
To quote Daniel Bryan, no. Okay, friends, you're about to get blocked. I'm kidding. No. The Miz said it best in his promo. This is what Friends of the Squared Circle also said. Miz said it best in the promo. He's a flash in the pain till the next thing comes around. What? Oh, flash in the pan.
Yeah.
Well, that's my illiteracy. Can't read there. Sorry. Dyslexia kicked in. Flash in the pain. Good night, Irene. That is embarrassing me. I'm kidding. But no, LA Knight's another one that I think will be. Let's see now. What do you all think? This is from Wrestling from the 313. What do you guys think about NXT having a Women's North American Championship? Ugh. I'll let you guys go first. I got to think on that.
Nick, you're the big NXT guy. What do you
They've
think?
got it. I mean, we'll see how they do it. There's probably going to be a tournament to set it up. They've got an influx of female talent on the NXT card, so it's good to have another title, I guess, involved. They don't have the tag titles down there for the women. They've just got the one title right now held by Roxanne Perez, who, by the way, has just been on a roll with her promos and since her new character change. But I'm not totally against it. I think it can be a good thing. They've got enough talent down there right now to throw it on somebody and to elevate somebody else in their career path. So I'm not against it.
Yeah, and really NXT does have, in my opinion, the largest female roster of the three brands in WWE. So I'm not opposed to it. It's nice to see a secondary title for the women come emerge. Would it be better suited on the main roster? Maybe for like a glamour aspect, giving someone else their flowers on the main roster. But like I said, NXT has an abundance of women wrestlers, and they're featured very prominently on the brand.
No, I agree with you. I thought they had tag titles for the women down there in NXT.
They did for a while.
They did for a little bit. Yep.
Okay, but no, you can almost have your own show with women's wrestlers of how many they have down there in NXT. So I agree with you all. I don't think it'd be a bad idea. Wrestling from 303 ask again, do you think it puts pressure on WWE to have a mid-card title for women on Raw and SmackDown? Ooh, that's a good follow-up question.
I say yes and no. I don't think the main roster, unless that mid-card title is going to be shared between brands, I don't think there is enough women on the main roster on one brand alone to have a mid-card title. If they're sharing it between Raw and SmackDown, I'm all for it. I can see it. But in my opinion, I think NXT has the overabundance of women, and I'm not saying that's a bad thing. I just don't see it for the main roster personally.
Nick?
If they're going to have a mid-card title for the women, it needs to be much like the tag team titles for the women. It has to bounce back and forth between both shows. It can't just be on one show. They need to be to both shows. So I don't think there'll be any pressure to add a title right now. I think they're going to wait and see how this NXT North American women's title goes, and then maybe go from there. But if it is added, it needs to be on both shows, not just one.
No, I agree with you. Like it does need to be on both shows and not as one, because you already got two major women's titles on each brand, and the tag titles are being shared. So unless they put the Raw women's tag title and SmackDown women's tag title, if there's going to be another belt for the women's division, no, I agree with you all. It needs to be shared. Friends of Squared Circle, Mike's been saying this since I met him. There should be another women's title. Okay, yeah, but well, he's not wrong. He's not wrong. I agree with that statement. Given how big of a roster I think that's kind of what AEW runs into that issue with, because they have a pretty big women's division too.
Yeah.
Yeah, they've got the women's title, of course. They've got the TBS championship. They don't have women's tag, but they do have a big women's division. AEW does,
and a lot of good talent on the women's division in AEW that aren't getting used.
No, I agree. Well, CZ, there's a lot of wrestlers in general that's not being used in AEW.
Very true. Yes.
Even though they have the two shows. See, I kind of like what Tony was doing. I feel like I'm crapping on AEW too much here, because I really want it, like you all, I want it to succeed. I want to see another wrestling company aside from WWE to succeed. But when like CZ has a Funko Pop of himself he
does. He has a Funko Pop of himself.
Okay, that's pretty cool. That's pretty cool. I like that.
I just have the image of it. I don't have a physical version yet. I'm working on it.
Big say I wouldn't mind getting me one too, but But with like how AEW is, like I think it's kind of what I guess you can kind of say WWE still has the same problem where they have an overflow of talent, like they don't know what to do with. But I think AEW has more of that problem now than what WWE does now. Would you all agree with that statement, or what's your
Yes.
thoughts on that?
Yeah,
Yeah,
I would agree with that
yeah,
statement.
I agree.
But it would be nice to see like Ring of Honor on something different, or keep what you wanted to with like what CM Punk, but he was going to run Collision, and they was going to keep Dynamite separate. You know, I think you should just keep them separate. You shouldn't join them. You should have just kept it that same formula. That way, a lot of people could get more time, TV time, instead of having two shows back to back, because that's what they do. They'll do Dynamite Live, and then they'll set up and they'll record Collision.
Rampage.
Oh, Rampage, sorry. And then they'll do Collision Live. Am I correct? Is that right?
Yeah, Collision's live.
Yeah, okay. Because I remember going to Lexington. I was actually at the Jay Briscoe Memorial Show.
Okay.
So that's what they
awesome.
did. They would, yeah, gosh, man, that place came unglued even during the main event, and that's probably one of their better main events they've had, I would say. And not because it was just a memorial show, but because I think Tony said, all right, go out there and have a Jay Briscoe match. And they did. Jay Lethal and his brother had a C. I think AEW should have did a roster split, AEW and yes, there was a missed opportunity to do that.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And then you could have had a war between the brands.
Yes.
It doesn't matter if people know. You could have done a storyline where I think Prince Nana would have been the person to do it, since he's a Ring of Honor vet, to say, no, I bought Ring of Honor. It's now mine, Tony. Ha ha ha. Or something. And then he did his swerve while he drives dance. Nana cracks me the heck up. Not many people know he used to be a wrestler too before he turned manager.
Yep.
But and he was really good too. But I think if they'd done something like that, or had someone, I mean, you could have had Taz do it. You could have had anybody back there do it, because they got a bunch of legends back there as producers that probably wouldn't have minded doing it. Oh, Steve Corino, for crying out loud! If they could have got Steve Corino to do it, that would have been great. But no, Mike, I agree. If they had a roster split, I would have split it between AEW, Ring of Honor. Okay, so here's a good question to follow up with Mike D's. Who would you have if they did the Ring of Honor and AEW split? Who would you have as someone representing, kayfabe, Ring of Honor? Who would you pick?
Ooh.
They could be currently signed to AEW, or they could be someone that they hire on just to do this role.
I'm gonna
first name. Oh, go ahead.
You go ahead, CZ.
First name that pops into my mind is Christopher Daniels. I think he'd be a great fit in an authority role or an in-ring role as a leader. I think that's the first name that popped into my head when you said that.
Nick, who would you think?
Nigel McGuinness.
Oh.
I love Nigel, man. I wish his in-ring career was still going on, but I would go with Nigel McGuinness through and through. He'd be great in that authority role. He's kind of got a heel. He's kind of a heel commentator when he's on the mic. So that's who I would go with.
You know who I would have went with if they weren't crazy enough to let him go? William Regal.
Yeah, he would have been good too.
Yeah, because look what he's done for NXT alone.
Yep.
Okay, and oh god, come on, Colt Cabana for Ring of Honor World Champion, really? Oh, crazy. I mean, it wouldn't be a bad idea. Well, I don't know. They might get backlash over that one.
Maybe a little.
Maybe a little. Hater. Don't listen. I like Colt Cabana. I've met Colt Cabana. He's a cool dude. But I I don't see him being a world champion. I hate to say, I can't see him being a world champion. I think he has been a world champion. Has he? Has he been a world champion before?
I think he's been an ROH champion once.
Okay.
Yeah,
because that was a few years ago. That is right. That he did win the Ring of Honor title. You are correct. It's like, wait a minute, I think he's already done that. But it was like very, very short-lived. I think it was like him being like a little transitional champion.
Yep.
Now do it. Now CM Punk would have been another good one if they would have kept him.
Correct.
Yes, 100%.
Let's see. Or Chris Hero. Ooh. Yeah. We could have got the especially with Claudio there. We could have got the Kings of Wrestling back. Oh, that was an underrated tag team. I don't care what anybody said. The Kings of Wrestling was a underrated tag team and deserves more recognition than what they get. Let's see. Crander said from Friends of the Squared Circle says use Ring of Honor like NXT for the young guys to learn. Yes, I agree.
Exactly what they should be doing.
Totally what they should be doing. Yep.
Instead of using it for a namesake. No, I agree with that because look at the producers they got back there. They got Dean Malenko, I think still. They got Taz they can learn from. They got Excalibur. A lot of people want to pick on him, but he was a decent wrestler back in the day. They have Tony Schiavone still work for them. They have Jim Rossbecker that still works for them. They have Jerry freaking Lynn working for them.
There you go. Former Ring of Honor champion.
Yes. And let's see. Wardlow Ring of Honor champion. If booked right, I would love to see that. I would love to see because Wardlow could be a beast and so could Power. I don't care what anybody says. So could Powerhouse Hobbs.
I agree with both that.
Yeah,
agree on both
I
those.
agree.
Yep.
I agree.
Because
those guys should be feuding for the Ring of Honor world title.
That would be one heck of a feud.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. You got big guy versus big guy, and no, let's just drop the ball, shall we?
Yep.
Sorry, Tony. No, I'm not. Let's see. Friends of the Squared Circle commented yet again. I love Top Flight, but they got a little bit. They got to get a little bit. Yeah, they do got to get a little bit better. I agree.
They do.
What better place for them to do it in Ring of Honor?
Yeah, it's not shown on TV.
It's got to be shown on TV.
No.
Are they doing it on Honor Club? Or are they?
It's on Honor Club.
It's on Honor Club. Why you would put that behind a paywall? I don't know.
Stupidity. That's the only thing I can think of.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Probably.
Yeah. 100%.
Let's see. Hobbs could be a megastar. Yes, I agree.
Agreed.
I think Hobbs could 100% be a heck of a megastar. So could Wardlow if again booked right. Wrestling from the 313 states. Do you guys think Hook is going to leave AEW? That's a good question.
I don't think so.
I don't think he will.
I think he fits better in AEW. I really do.
I wanted him to succeed, and he has done so far. I think I would like for him to see what he could do in WWE. Honestly, I think they could possibly do. He would have to start in NXT, of course.
Yes.
And then work his way up. I think a lot of people would respect him a lot more if he'd done that. But I agree with you. I don't see him moving away from AEW. For one, his dad's there. And for two,
that's a big factor.
And for two, he's made himself a household name there at AEW. So I don't see him going anywhere.
I don't either. I honestly don't.
But I will say it would be interesting to see him in AEW or WWE. Let's see. I say he stays, not to get lost in that scheme of NXT right now. Same with MJF to WWE. So that's another thing I want to bring up. We haven't heard from MJF in a long time. A lot of people expect him to show up at Mania to help Cody, which I think I'm happy they didn't do because I think that would have taken away from Cody. And from
it would have taken away. It would have taken away from MJF too, making a debut.
Yeah, it would take away from both of them. But I think if they don't have anybody, Rock's gone to make another film Roman, I think, is probably going to be out, probably, fighting leukemia again. Hopefully he beats that. I think if you're going to have somebody surprise in the next couple of months, I think MJF is that surprise.
Yeah, I mean, do you think, is he out because he had surgery? He needed to have surgery. Did he resign?
He had surgery, and plus he didn't resign with AEW.
It's interesting. It's going to be really interesting to see where he pops up.
Yes,
he's a friend of Cody. He's close with Cody. No doubt he's been watching the landscape change here since he's been gone from AEW. And probably for the worst since he's been gone from AEW. He was the hottest thing they had going. So he's got a decision to make. We're all going to be waiting for it. We're all going to be excited for it, whether he stays in AEW or comes to WWE. But got to think guys like MJF that see the success that Cody's having, and the company, is now under different ownership, different rule. It's a lot different from when MJF was back in NXT. That's got to be Ricky Starks, another name that might come over when his contract comes up, a guy who's close with Cody. I couldn't think of his name there for a couple seconds.
I think Dustin would go back once.
I think Dustin would go back in a heartbeat. Those guys are watching from afar and have decisions to make once their contracts come up, and it's going to be interesting to see what those decisions are going to be.
Right.
Yeah.
And wrestling for the
definitely a landscape changer for sure, if and when they do move over.
Right. And wrestling for the 3 brings up a good point. AEW lost to 3 of their original stars. They lost Cody, Jade, and Brian Pillman Jr., who's now Lexus King. So, I mean, those were main stables. Cody and Jade, I don't think AEW knew what to do. Rachel Ray states, how do you think fans/wrestlers will respond to Gabby? How you say that last name, guys?
Tuft.
Coming back. I'm not too familiar with her.
I'm not either.
I'm not either.
But if they're a fan favorite, hopefully they have a good comeback. I wish that upon anybody. Then we'll take a few more questions here, y'all, and we'll wrap it up. Let's see. He would be like the 10th or more most popular star, though. So many big names right now in WWE. The smart marks would complain that he gets buried like the WCW champs. Who are you talking about, Crander? Are you talking about MJF? Maybe. I don't think if they're listen. Here's my take on MJF. MJF is a modern day Ric Flair. He's good on the mic. He's got a great wrestling ability, and he got just natural charisma, and I think there's a lot of that missing in wrestling now. So
he gets a reaction, right, wrong, or indifferent. He gets a reaction, and that's what wrestling is getting a reaction from the audience, getting a reaction from the fans, and the guy's a walking, talking reaction, whether you like him or not. I've grown to like him, understand his shtick. And I think he would get that reaction if he came over to WWE.
Yeah, I agree.
Oh, okay. So Tyler Rex.
Transition into Gabby Tuft. I don't know what the reaction would be. Are you talking in WWE? I don't know what the reaction would be.
Yeah. Okay.
Yes,
thank you,
Gabby,
Rachel, for confirming that. Thank you.
Yep. Thank you for clearing that up. I don't know what the reaction would be, to be honest. Wrestling seems to be pretty open forum. Fans are pretty welcome or open to wrestlers when they return. Whether they transitioned or not, I don't know. It'd be interesting. It'd be the first one, right? It'd be the first wrestler to do that. So it'd be very interesting.
Yeah.
Very interesting to see.
I think the reaction would be better than you expect it to be, but I like you, Nick, I couldn't say for sure.
Yeah, it would be very interesting because them as her as Tyler Rex, was I think underrated at the time. Whenever they were in NXT, correct? Right, for a little while, or were they in
NXT and then like lower card, like on the main event and stuff like that? Yeah.
So that'd be great.
Yeah.
Let's see, wrestling for the 3-on-3. let's see, where do you all think WrestleMania will be next year? I think it's confirmed. Craner Q can probably highlight this. I want to say it's in Minnesota.
I think Minneapolis.
Yeah.
Hopefully. It's just.
I wonder if Brock's going to be there.
I wonder.
We'll stab at his NFL career there.
Walking around the stadium in his jersey looking for a match.
I still have my helmet, I swear.
I'm honestly surprised they haven't announced it yet. Usually WrestleMania weekend they announce where it's going to be.
It is.
Yes. So she said both houses are open to her. Oh, that'd be great to see Gabby in either one.
Yeah.
Probably WWE if she's smart. I'm excited to see her. So am I. So it's either Minneapolis or Vegas. Wrestling from the 313 and Friends of the Squared Circle said that. I can see. I don't. Has it ever been hosted in Vegas before?
Yeah, WrestleMania 9. It was outdoors. Smaller venue.
You're right. That was 9. But that was Caesar's Palace. Yeah, that's right. That's right. I remember that. But that's been, what was that, 93, I think. Yeah, that's been a while.
Bobby Heenan riding backwards on a camel.
Yeah.
Stop this thing. Stop it. Yeah, that's when we got The Undertaker where he did an entrance with a vulture on his arm, right?
Yep. You're right. A vulture, buzzard, right.
And that's when we got the Shawn Michaels versus Tatanka, and Sensational Sherry was with Tatanka, and one of the most underrated wrestlers in the world. Sorry. Oh man, her name escapes. Luna Vachon was with Shawn.
Yep.
Okay, and don't say Kentucky. Once Nashville gets that stadium built, Crander, WWE has said they will host WrestleMania at their new stadium. So I'm just saying that because it's close to me. But y'all, we went over an hour, our usual time. Thank you all for asking questions. I think we've had fun answering them.
Absolutely.
But we'll go ahead and we'll end this real quick. Gentlemen, do you all have any closing statements or any advice for anybody that wants to? It doesn't even have to even start their own show or podcast, just something they want to do with their lives. What would be something, some words of inspiration that you would tell them?
Well, Joe, before I give any words of inspiration, I would feel remiss if I didn't bring up our network. Who DJ Jarvis, the person who runs the network, brought Nick and I back together for this podcast. He would give me so much hell if I didn't mention his name in bringing us together. But as far as any words of advice, the best advice that I've gotten as far as podcasting goes are consistency and promotion. And you can take that to life as well. Stay consistent and promote yourself. Be an advocate for yourself.
Nick?
Whether it's life, whether it's a podcast, which this is like a hobby for me, and I have fun with it. I don't take this too seriously. Like I try to be professional in my approach. Use some of my broadcasting college background, but I don't take myself too seriously, and I have fun with it. I really do. I don't look at myself as this big shock jock podcaster. I just look at myself as someone who's continually learning. Always be receptive to learning and hearing new things, and have fun with it. I mean, that's we're not here very long, so just may as well have fun while you're here, while you're doing it.
Exactly. And I'll say this: I will quote Paul Heyman when it comes to people trying to cancel you or spamming you or anything. Only you can cancel you. Only you can decide your own fate.
Yep.
And I agree with that statement. That guy is a prime example of being trolled, getting canceled, and getting everything. We taught Joe everything we know. That is true. Crander Q and Mike D, JD, they have all pitched in and helped make this show better. And the only way we're going to get better, or the only way we grow, is if we do get better than we are now. So with that being said, this has been Joe Monroe here with the Wizard CZ and Never Wrong Nick Bull. Gentlemen, thank you all so much for being a part of this historic and first run of the Podcasters Appreciation Month and being the longest running episode so far. We're at 1 hour and 40 minutes.
All right.
So I will shut up
Yes.
and I will shut up and quit babbling. You guys may have some competition with the DWO. We're going to have them on actually on the 17th, so in a couple of days. But tomorrow night, we'll be back with episode number 10 with JD from Mayhem Media. This has been Joe Monroe, and ladies and gentlemen, we are out. Stay safe, have a great night, and always, always, always support professional wrestling. Thank you so much.